Very pleasant. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Morning Briefing. I'm Jeff DeForest, along with one Mike Lubitz, who's looking resplendent today. Looks like he was out there walking around in the sunshine. South Florida happens to be one of the coolest spots in the country right now, not just because of what goes on here, but because it was only 97 degrees and it was 1,000 degrees everywhere else. Feels like you're walking on the sun. Good to have you guys with us. We've often mentioned this. It comes up right away because we had yet another passing of a well-known celebrity. Now, we've had a few in sports legends checking out the last week or so. Jerry West, Willie Mays, before that, Bill Walton. The great Chet Walker almost went unnoticed because of the level of celebrity that some of these other stars had before they passed into that great arena in the sky. But betting tends to bring out the most base, unflattering characteristics of anybody that's trying to uphold some kind of moral standards, Lubie. Would you say that I'm in the right ballpark there? Because I had this ugly thought this morning as I realized I saw in the news Donald Sutherland, the great actor Donald Sutherland, checked out at the age of 88. And what was my first reaction? It wasn't, wow, that guy was great. I loved him in MASH, and he was in 800 movies, television shows. There really wasn't anything that was of value in terms of anything on film or TV that didn't include a Sutherland at some point, especially Donald. He was in virtually everything. And what was a very easy actor, he was engaging and very easy actor to like and appreciate for what he did. Even if he played somewhat of a similar role all the time, he did it with great expertise and great style and Oscar-level type performances. But I lost a bet because now Donald Sutherland cannot play Greg Popovich in the movie about Popovich. And Popovich had morphed completely into the modern-day version, no longer now that he's been embalmed, but the modern-day version. Well, he might even look like Sutherland now that he's been embalmed, Greg Popovich, the way he's going to stick around as long as Wembanyama is in the league. Which, by the way, Lubie, would you bet Wembanyama to win the MVP next year, like 25-1?
Next year? Oh, I don't know about
next year. Not possible at all.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So now I only have two of those prop bets left because Sutherland's out to play Greg Popovich. We do have Howie Mandel to play Jason Kidd when they make the movie. And this is a little bit more obscure, but I think Leonardo DiCaprio is going to play the tennis player. He's only 19 and he hasn't done enough yet to distinguish himself, although you see him quite frequently because he's always having these childish fits out there on the court and costing himself any chance he has of winning majors or big tournaments. But you're going to have DiCaprio playing the tennis player Holger Rune. Have you seen this guy? Holger Rune. And they're dead ringers for each other. But speaking of death, Donald Sutherland passes away. And I feel somewhat dirty, somewhat filthy, thinking that the main thing that occurred out of that, the first thought I had was that can't get the prop bet on the Popovich movie. If you are betting, though, Louie, and there's a lot to bet on, that's for sure over the weekend, BetOnline is your number one source for sports betting needs this season, from baseball, golf, soccer, right on through the top fights in the UFC, MMA, and boxing. They have it all. Every stat, every matchup, even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. You see your guy lose the first 6 rounds? Bet him to win the fight. You can do it right when the game is in action. When the game's over, head on over to the online casino. You can get involved in a game of blackjack or poker, play one of the 150 slot games that are available. Actually, there's more than that. And head to the website today to get in on all the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, one of our favorite platforms, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online. The game starts here. I'm going to quit crying about the Sutherland bet because it was only a minor amount of money. They don't take a lot of action on things like that. If you're betting who's going to, come out and sing the anthem or, or how long it's going to go or what the first song is going to be at the halftime show of Rihanna or something, you can't get a lot of steam on those kind of bets. But you can send it in on tonight's game. Game 6, Lubie. And this is a game that has the bookmakers on edge, because the world has the Panthers in 6. Now, if you think about it, Lubie, why are we even slightly concerned here? You and I both were very convinced that the Panthers in 6 was a worthwhile play. Didn't think necessarily. I originally thought about playing the sweep at 11-1. Glad I didn't do that. And then you were looking at the way the series was transpiring. You were thinking, all right, Panthers win the first couple of games. Edmonton probably fires back in game 3. Instead, they get crushed like a grape, even though it was a 1-goal game, essentially dominated by the Florida Panthers. And now you're thinking, oh, geez, I slept on this thing, 11-1 on the sweep. I could have been hedging off and been in a very favorable capitalistic position. But that went by the boards. And then Edmonton, surprisingly, when it looks like they were ready to just throw in the towel, they come back and rally. They win 8-1. They come back to South Florida. They win 5-3 with an empty netter. The differential there is the Panthers were swarming the net all over Stuart Skinner and about to send him back to shul. Is he Jewish, Stuart Skinner? Doesn't that sound like a Jewish name?
Very Jewish, yes. The name Stuart Skinner feels very Jewish. 100%.
I can't imagine. Is there a Jewish goaltender in the NHL? I mean, it would be great as a flag bearer for our religion there, Lubie. Not that we're overwhelmingly religious, but, just the fact that we're in the category, it'd be nice to see a Jewish goaltender prospering in the Stanley Cup finals. But what happens tonight, Lubie? What do you think? I mean, you were not confident at all. Everybody seemed to be overwhelmingly of the frame of mind that the Panthers would probably win that Game 5 coming back to South Florida, schlepping 3,000 miles across the country and into another country and into another stratosphere, another atmosphere. Coming back here, I think they had all the advantages. The town was feeling pretty confident here in South Florida. Most of the people were of the frame of mind that the Panthers would win. They lose. They have to go back, traipse all the way back to Edmonton, Alberta for a game number 6. I'm thinking it comes back here for Game 7. But you now all of a sudden are infused with a new wave of confidence that maybe it ends tonight. What do you think?
I mean, I don't know about new wave. It's the way they played in Game 4 scared the crap out of me. It's not like they started strong in Game 5, but the way they finished Game 5, it felt like, okay, they were starting to figure things out again. Yeah, Connor McDavid had woken up and had 7 points at that point, consecutive, like in 2 straight games. But they overcame it, right? They scored 2 pretty quick goals, got to 4-3, and really controlled that entire third period. Even when McDavid did get that last bullshit tip in after a phenomenal play from Tkachuk to get his second straight 4-point game, like the Panthers were controlling them. McDavid was doing nothing. Draisaitl was doing nothing. Like the Oilers, I don't know.
Third period, they disappeared. They really did.
And it wasn't like they weren't trying. The Panthers played the Panthers game, and hockey fans or Canadians will say, "Oh, you don't know the game." I know the game. When the Panthers have been aggressive and playing the game, we saw them play the entire playoffs. The Oilers have had no answers. And you can call me an American, you can call me a dumb South Floridian. That's you can call me biased. It's the truth. They got up 3-0.
You're all of those things, by the way.
I may be all those things, and I'm also right. They got up 3-0. McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman all wanted to play. It wasn't like they weren't trying. The Panthers are the better team, and that hasn't changed. What changes, it's hard to keep that level of ferocity for 4 straight games from beginning to end. And that's what we saw. They did it for 3 straight games, and they got up 3-0. The 4th game, they fell on their face. The 5th game, for half of it, they fell on their face. But then they woke up. It's like, okay, well, you can do it for a game. You can play with that level of ferocity for a game. We've seen them do it for most of the playoffs. Why can't they do it now? And I feel like going there on the road, all of Canada on their back, on the Oilers' back, and when presuming we need a Game 7, it's going to go to Game 7. I'm not. They looked vastly better in Game 5, and I think that they can continue that. I don't know what game we're going to get. I have no idea the involvement of the refs because they were way too involved in Game 5. I'd rather them not call anything either way because the Panthers aren't even good on the power play. I'd rather not get power plays. I'd rather keep their fucking whistle in their goddamn pocket and let them play. This is the Stanley Cup Finals. Let them play the game because I think if they do, the Panthers will win. I think the refs getting involved cuts the Panthers' momentum and it allows the Oilers to have their guys on longer. So
Oddly, though, that ref, O'Rourke, was a guy that the Panthers had been 14-0-1 while he was officiating their games during the season and the postseason. And the Edmonton Oilers had been 0-5 in postseason games where O'Rourke was the head referee, head official on the crew. That certainly turned around, made a 180. I don't know that was really the overwhelming factor in the game, but certainly was not favorable. And the other thing that's unfavorable is the Panthers giving up the shorthanded goal to open the scoring 2 games in a row with such ugliness, as they used to call it. That's the most devastating blow, I think, that you can suffer in hockey, is to have a shorthanded goal scored against you to open the scoring, especially in a Stanley Cup final game. All that being said, I mean, we're seeing a pattern here. Now, what's great, Lubie, is we've all become hockey experts over the last several weeks after knowing nothing about it. We couldn't tell a puck from a bowling pin, most people. And now the game's as intangible, as abstract as it is, it's fairly simple to figure out. And if you look at this one characteristic, the Edmonton Oilers now have figured out a way to counterpunch, and they're cashing in on it. You see great counterpunchers in boxing. Floyd Mayweather, even though he couldn't break an egg with either hand towards the end of his career, was an outstanding counterpuncher. You might remember the most famous of counterpunches, or among them, when Juan Manuel Marquez knocked out Manny Pacquiao as he was being pummeled in the corner. Pacquiao's throwing 1,000 punches at blazing speed. All of a sudden, one shot comes through, and Pacquiao's flat on the canvas, face down, losing that matchup between two guys that went after each other 4 different times. Always classic wars. Actually, Juan Manuel Marquez's brother, Rafael Marquez, lesser known of the two in the family, but a world champion in his own right, well, was an outstanding counterpuncher. And we're seeing this counterpunch coming from the Edmonton Oilers because they're taking the Panthers' aggression on occasion, getting that little poke check steal that they need in their own defensive zone, and creating odd man rushes, which has been the nemesis of the Florida Panthers through the series. And it happens to be, Lubie, I know you get very squeamish when you see a 2-on-1, a 3-on-2 rush by the opposition on your man Sergei Bobrovsky, who, for whatever reason, seems to go into some kind of a panic mode, and often you see him sprawled out across the ice in front of the goal while the puck is easily shot into the back of the net. And that has been a big factor in the series so far, and especially came to light in the last 2 games. Even Paul Maurice was saying we have to do something to shore that aspect up. So we'll see if the aggression of the Florida Panthers prevails tonight over what has been kind of a counterpunching style of the Edmonton Oilers. Atmosphere should be insane, heavily favoring the Oilers in terms of the emotional boost that they will get from the crowd. Panthers' mission would be typically to go in there, score the first couple of goals, and just render them dead silent, send them back to their plates of whale blubber at home that they can take out of the freezer and throw in the microwave to pacify themselves that the Oilers were going to be denied a championship. But we shall see. The bookies certainly are on edge tonight because the world does have the Panthers in 6 games, so that's going to be fun. Yesterday in baseball, the Orioles spanked the New York Yankees, now within a half a game of the New York Yankees in the AL East. Are they the beasts of the East? Was this whole Yankee start to the season? We're not, where are we, about halfway through, pretty close to it. What was it, all Fugazi, Lubie? Because they got off to a great start from a 1-loss standpoint, but getting hammered yesterday, 17-5. Luis Gil, who had been brilliant, 7 runs in an inning and a third on 8 hits, and the Baltimore Orioles beating their chest, saying, we won it last year. And not having a whole lot of respect for the boys in pinstripes, the Bronx Bombers, as they take 2 out of 3 in that series and close the gap to within a half a game in the American League East. Something to watch. I'm going to give you the big trade of the offseason so far. NBA basketball has already been movement. You saw it, Lubie. I think I might have sent you a text because you know I love this guy, this bald-headed geek that was with the Chicago Bulls, had been an instrumental role player for the Los Angeles Lakers, certainly played a significant role in LeBron winning his championships. Alex Caruso, an outstanding defensive player, recognized by many as one of the great defensive players in the league, and also capable of scoring key buckets. And he goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Lubie, is that enough? Is that going to be, never mind Paul George and where LeBron ends up and who's going to draft Bronny, was the Caruso from the Bulls to the Thunder trade the thing that will put the Oklahoma City Thunder in a legitimate spot to maybe win the NBA championship? What do you think?
I mean, they got to, the second round?
That look you gave me was, hey, what are you talking about this insignificant scrum for DeForest? What is wrong with you? You know I like to tease you about this NBA offseason movement, but I think it is significant, no?
No, they needed, look, the way Kyrie and Luka torched them, they needed better help on the defensive end, on the guard, from the guard aspect. The guy's been all NBA defensive team a couple times. And he also is a veteran.
And he's got the slick watch thing with the bald head and the headband, which I love.
It was a good move for the Thunder, and we'll see. Well, I mean, I don't know if it makes them favorites or anything like that, but you need guys like that. You need guys that can help you get defensive stops, which they weren't getting versus the Mavs. And they're the better team than the Mavs. What we saw from the Mavs in the finals made me sick to think that the Thunder and the T-Wolves lost to that team. but they're a young team, and the same thing with the T-Wolves. You need veterans, and Alex Caruso is one of those. He's been a part of. I think he was on that Lakers team that beat the Heat in the final, so he has a championship ring. He's been to playoffs. He's played pretty big in big moments.
Comes up big in those kind of spots. He really does, Libby. You hit that right on the head. Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, is that going to be Paul George all of a sudden? Did they not have him in a 76er uniform when he was on either the halftime or post-game show
100%.
on either ESPN or TNT? And he's sitting there with Joel Embiid. And you could have sworn that they gave him Doc's uniform and said, you're now a 76er, no?
They're acting like he's there.
Now he don't want to go to the Sixers, supposedly. That story is cool.
That's funny.
What do you think?
I know. I think the Clippers keep him. The Clippers have talked about keeping him. Clippers made an interesting run. They have plenty of money. I think they're going to give another run of it.
They just hired Jeff Van Gundy as an assistant.
Yep. I don't think they've said they want to keep it together, and they were interesting. I mean, the problem is the Kawhi health. Kawhi's always going to miss a game fucking randomly. Like, that's where he is at this point.
Yeah. All the load management in the world isn't going to save them from themselves. Tyronn Lue got the big contract as a head coach, and I still, in my next lifetime, people, I want to come back as Monty Williams, please, just once. That was my dream. You know that, was to sign a big fat contract with some radio station here in town during the many years I was working on the local airwaves here. And the day I signed a contract, maybe within an hour, get fired for some act of insubordination. What was not going to ruin the guarantee in my contract and just get paid for 5 years at a high rate. Sit on the beach, have a good time. Monty Williams, $65 million to go away. That is what you want to do. That's what you want to aspire to. Tell all of your children to aspire to be failed head coaches on some professional level.
JJ Redick will probably be with him in like 2 years.
Gets the Laker job. That is a strange move, is it not? I mean, especially after they made the big splash with Dan Hurley, and they did everything. They show him arriving in L.A. and being escorted to Spago or whatever by Genie Bus. He's all over the place. He's at Disney World. Next thing you know, he says he's staying. And I don't know that I would be offended by that being the second choice, but I really have no idea. It's sort of bewildering that J.J. Redick, we just mentioned Jeff Van Gundy, that J.J. Redick would be the preferred choice with zero coaching experience. Well, what does that tell you about the way the Laker organization is being run as they perform on the floor game to game? When they hand the baton to a guy that, what is he really going to tell LeBron James that he hasn't already discussed with him on the podcast?
That's the thing. He's not going to do anything. It's that he connects well on the podcast. I don't even know what that means. And his basketball IQ. Again, I don't know. He's never coached ever. I don't understand this move.
I could see him having the acumen to do it, though.
Yeah, it's fine. To be an assistant. Get to be a lead assistant. To be a head coach of the LA Lakers with an aging LeBron and aging Anthony Davis and nothing young. Like Austin Reeves took a step backwards last year. Like, they have nothing anyone wants to build around. Like, D'Angelo Russell maybe on the way out. And that's where you're going to insert a guy who's never coached and is literally 180 days older than LeBron.
Seems like a perfect spot to get your feet wet and learn. He couldn't coach at Bowling Green for a couple of years before he got this job. I don't know. Let's see if it works. Anyway, stranger things have happened, and it did seem like an odd choice, especially with all of the excellence. Everybody always talks about Kenny Atkinson, who was an assistant with Golden State and was a former head coach with the Nets in Brooklyn and was highly respected. He can't get a job before J.J. Redick. Jeff Van Gundy, 11 seasons out of coaching, supposedly was getting calls all the time, was an associate this year with the Celtics, with Brad Stevens, some kind of advisor. He's going to end up with a championship ring. Stevens loves the guy, credits him with a lot of the things that happened during the offseason, some bold moves made by Brad Stevens that actually paid off, including Lubie. The acquisition of Porzingis. Marcus Smart was a guy that everybody thought was an essential epitome of the embodiment of what the whole Celtic pride thing was all about. They send him packing. A little bit controversial, and it all worked out. I don't know how much Van Gundy had to do with that, but if he had any input there, he certainly was a very wise guy that came up with solutions for the Boston Celtics that they otherwise couldn't find. And nothing, right? Not even a taste. J.J. Redick ends up getting a job there. A guy that was essentially a three-point shooter. Although he was with 6 different clubs in the NBA. seems to be a guy that can extrapolate some of the knowledge that he had gained as a player into at least devising strategies or knowing how to win games. But can he manage the personnel? That's the question. And apparently, you don't think LeBron had anything to do with the hiring, do you? He had no input whatsoever. Of course, they always say that. No, LeBron's got nothing to do with this. And then they end up, they end up hiring his buddy and drafting his son, probably. In all likelihood, we shall see. All right, we got to get out of here. A lot of fun. Good luck with all your wagers over the weekend. Go ahead and punch up Bet Online and punch in the promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV. That's all caps, and you'll get a 50% signing bonus. So when you jump on board there, and then you can get involved in bets. I don't know if they were taking action on that. Do you think they were taking action on Donald Sutherland playing Greg Popovich in the movie?
No.
It was a long shot, Lubie. I should have got a bigger price on that. I was getting 14-1, but the guy's 88 years old, and Popovich is still coaching. Once I drafted Wembanyama, I thought I was in trouble with that bet. All right, we will see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. It's the first day of summer, right? Summertime, and living is easy. So enjoy yourselves. Get out there to the beach, get some sun, and we'll see you guys on Monday. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks so much for tuning in to today's edition of the Morning Briefing.